Hello, everyone. I'm Mac Anderson, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Tide Pod Challenge, or crisis communication, but more specifically the Tide Pod Challenge, and how it was handled by the company that creates Tide Pods, Procter& Gamble. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the history of internet trends. So in the beginning, internet trends and challenges, they were relatively harmless. We saw things such as the Cinnamon Challenge and the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. You may remember the Cinnamon Challenge asked people to eat a spoonful of cinnamon without a drink, and the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge actually went a long way towards raising funds and awareness towards ALS by asking people to dump a bucket of ice water over their head and challenge their friends and family to do the same or to donate money towards ALS research. Internet trends soon took a turn for the worst. We saw a rise of more dangerous internet challenges, such as the bath salt challenge or the salt and ice challenge, as you may know it. And in this challenge, people were dumping salt on their hands and then holding a ice cube to their hands until it produced a chemical reaction that started to burn. People then held the ice on their skin until they couldn't take the pain any longer. And more dangerous challenges like this soon gave rise to internet challenges such as the Tide Pod Challenge. If you don't remember the Tide Pod Challenge, it was very well covered by the news media, often lumping millennials together as the group of people that were eating Tide Pods. Um, the Tide Pod Challenge challenged people to eat a Tide laundry detergent pod, something that is very dangerous and not the product's intended use, but seeking internet fame. Children, mainly 13 to 19-year-old males, were doing just that. So before we get into the analysis of the crisis, I just want to define what a crisis is. According to our textbook, there are two stipulations that define a crisis. The first is that the accused is held responsible for an action. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Procter & Gamble had nothing to do with the Tide Pod Challenge and that it wasn't their fault. But prior to the Tide Pod Challenge becoming an issue, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission released a statement saying that laundry detergent pods are they're colorful, they're squishy, and they smell good. All three things that apply or that appeal to young children. And even though this wasn't the target audience of people that were doing the Tide Pod Challenge, many people believe that the Tide Pod Challenge was invented as kind of a joke, a play on this statement, the fact that children find laundry detergent pods appealing to eat. And the second of the two stipulations is that the act is considered offensive. I think this one goes without saying. Children were being sent to the hospital for eating Tide Pods, and some even died. So I think it goes without saying that this act could be considered offensive. Procter & Gamble's response, the first thing that they released was an advertisement on their Twitter account featuring all-pro tight end of the New England Patriots, Rob Gronkowski. In the ad, the company asks Gronkowski a series of questions such as, is it ever a good idea to eat Tide Pods, even as a joke? And Gronkowski replies with just a series of no's. The ad concludes with Gronkowski summing it all up by saying, what the heck is going on, everybody? Tide Pods are for washing, not eating. And then they show a warning that is printed on Tide laundry detergent pods that they're only supposed to be used for laundry. The CEO of Procter & Gamble, David Taylor, released a statement shortly after that. I'm not going to read this entire statement. There are three sections that I want to focus on. However, if you're interested in reading the whole statement, feel free to pause the video at this time and read the whole statement. The first excerpt that I want to talk about is the possible life-altering consequences of this act, seeking internet fame. The strategy that I think Taylor is using, according to our textbook, is the shift the blame strategy. He's clearly, by saying seeking internet fame, he is shifting the blame back on the people that are participating in the challenge, saying that they're seeking internet fame and they are putting their lives in their own hands, essentially, by eating Tide Pods. The second excerpt Ensuring the safety of the people who use our products is a fundamental to everything we do at Procter and Gamble. However, even the most stringent standards and protocols, labels and warnings can't prevent intentional abuse fueled by poor judgment and the desire for popularity. Again, towards the end of that statement, we see the shift the blame strategy, the poor judgment and the desire for popularity part. But the main strategy that I want to focus on in this excerpt is the good intention strategy. He is pointing out that they printed the most stringent standards and protocols, labels, and warnings on their product, essentially saying that we had good intentions. Tide Pods were never designed to be ingested, and uh, yeah, that he had good intentions all along. This was never their intended use. The third excerpt that I want to focus on is we're working with our partners to do whatever we can to stop this dangerous trend, including ensuring social media networks are removing videos that glorify this harmful behavior. Now, in this one, he is clearly using the corrective action strategy. He is trying to correct the fact that this is even an internet trend by talking to social media networks about removing videos. And my opinion of how it was handled was very straightforward. David Taylor was extremely straightforward in his statement. I believe that it could use a little bit more empathy, some sympathy with the parents the parents of the children that participated in the Tide Pod Challenge and were sent to the hospital. However, I don't blame Taylor at all. I think that he handled it very straightforward, and it probably was the proper way to handle this crisis. The takeaway, I think the biggest takeaway is preparedness. Companies should always be prepared for any situation. I know it may seem like it would have been impossible to predict anything like the Tide Pod Challenge would affect the company. However, knowing that laundry detergent pods appeal to small children, they could have done something, released an advertisement, educating parents before this even took off, something along those lines, where the company could have prepared. And if we're prepared for every situation, then nothing can surprise us. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in an email or in the comment section. I would love to get back to you and answer any questions that you may have. Finally, here are the references that I used in creating this presentation, and thank you.